Hello and welcome to this episode of Surveyor Says, the NSPS podcast. My name is Tim Burch, and I am the Executive Director for the National Society of Professional Surveyors and your host for the podcast. Each episode of Surveyor Says features topics and guests from the world of surveying and geospatial professions, and we highlight up-and-coming personalities and technology. This episode will introduce you to our candidates for secretary in the upcoming NSPS officer elections. Our guests include Craig Amy, the two-term incumbent from Michigan, and Nancy Almanzon, the NSPS director representing Nevada. Voting for this election will open on December 1st, and eligible members will receive an email with a link to the voting site. So, without further delay, here's our next installment of Surveyor Says. Hello and welcome to another episode of Surveyor Says. This is the secretary candidate episode for the NSPS elections that will be going online December 1st. Those eligible members of NSPS will be getting an email with a link to the voting site. And in talking to the secretarial candidates, we got to start somewhere. So we are going to start with our two-term incumbent secretary, Mr. Craig Amy from I will say the great state of Michigan, because I like Michigan. I enjoy going there. I enjoy, even though there's disturbance in the force every time I pass over the state line. It's always a great time out there. How are you, Mr. Amy?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Life is great.
Well, yeah, it is. It is pretty good. For those who don't know you, and I'm surprised there are people out there that don't, but there maybe is a few. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who you work for right now, years that you've been in the profession. I mean, where did Craig Amy start? Every surveyor has a story. So What's Craig Amy's surveying story? Okay.
Well, let's go back to the beginning. I got into surveying after I was in about 3 years into a forestry degree at Michigan Tech, and I had to take a class on something called surveying. I had no clue what it was, never heard of it before, which unfortunately is pretty common amongst anybody that's in this profession. But somebody said it's just a class to determine how to figure out what an acre is in a woodlot. So, okay, took the class, fell in love with it. It answered all the things I wanted to do in life, all my interests. And at the end of that class, I went down and changed curriculums and changed colleges and ended up at Fair State University, where I ended up getting my degree back in 1985, before probably a lot of our membership were even born. So that's how I got started in the profession. I got licensed in 1989 in Michigan. Went to work for a company 3 days after graduation, and I still work for them. Coming up on 39 years with this company.
Wow.
The company is Anderson, Eckstein, and Westrick. We're a civil engineering firm primarily, with a large municipal sector and a large private sector as well. So we get exposed to a very broad range of projects because of the type of business we do. And our location, we're situated about 40 minutes north of Detroit, which is just about the end of the really urbanized areas. So if I go out my door and I turn right, I get into big time urban area. If I go out the door and turn left, I'm into farmlands. So back to two big projects I'm working on right now is a major scanning project in Detroit for one of the big convention halls that we have. So I have that moving, and simultaneously, I've got a large subdivision that's a conversion from a golf course in one of our northern tiers. So it's a great company to work for a variety of reasons, but the exposure to different surveying applications has been amazing. We really do touch a little bit of everything as far as surveying is concerned. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, and I guess that's what I wanted to really expand on, is that, if the listener goes, oh, well, I'm adding up the numbers and this guy's got to be at least this. Oh, but the fact of the matter is, and I've known you for quite a while now. I guess that's one of the things that has always impressed me about you is your young attitude. And so I guess just in hearing you talk about the projects, and I remember however long ago it was when in talking to you about getting into UAVs and a lot of the remote sensing and the scanning and stuff, and how you were always looking forward to the new technology and how our world, our profession was going to be affected by it. So I guess that's one thing I wanted to just touch on, how that's kept you really modernized in this profession.
Right. It's really been when you look at the time that we've been involved in surveying, to see where we started, where we didn't use batteries. We had no need for batteries.
Yeah.
Now you can't walk out of the office without a handful of batteries. And if you run out of batteries, you don't know how to survey. To go from that point to where we're at now has been absolutely amazing. And it's been really a great ride the entire time. I love technology. Absolutely love it. Have loved it all my life. So our profession is being bombarded by all sorts of new technology, whether it's robotics or UAVs, scanning, the great things with GPS, all this stuff, all the UAVs, whether it be up in the air or down subterranean or on the water, it's just amazing. And I love doing this stuff because I find it to be fascinating. And oddly enough, I am the oldest guy in our department, but I'm the one that's really into the technical side of it. So I think that keeps me young. The scanning, which we're really getting into now, is amazing what it can do. But learning what it can't do is, I think, where I have an advantage over others because of my past. Coming from a battery-free existence to this point, I've got a good base on what surveying really is, so that I can apply it to all these new technologies when they come in the door.
Well, and I guess that's something that we've talked about in other arenas, and having that experience level, and like you said, coming from the non-battery time, and unfortunately, I resemble that remark too. In the end, it's the experience that tells us what the deliverable should be, and what is useful to our clients, and what's useful to our engineers that we're working with, and what the eventual product is supposed to be. The tools obviously have changed, and I guess that's the nice tie, is being able to bring that forward, and for you and your longevity to be able to also share that with your younger staff to say, yeah, these tools are great, but here's what we're really trying to deliver. So let's make sure this is what we use it for and not something else.
Exactly. Yeah. The temptation, and I see it with my fellow workers in my department, is to use this new technology and take whatever it gives you. And we cannot do that. We have to know that it's given us the right information, or if it's given us the wrong information, we need to be able to discern that as well and figure out why. So in fact, I'm just, with this scanning project I'm doing, I just ran into a problem, but then I kind of fall back on my experience when I was younger on how really to do a survey accurately. And I'm now bringing that and blending that in with the new technology and coming up with the right answers, which I think puts us, those of us in our generation, in that really unique situation that we've kind of spanned the gap between battery-free to battery-dependent surveying.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm proud to be. Hopefully, I consider myself and you and a few others that we've been able to span exactly that, because it is about foot in the past, foot in the future, and what you've done there has been fantastic. Well, in addition to that, you've also spent a significant amount of time involved in the Michigan Society. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved with the state affiliate there, and what all that has really, I guess, broadened your career in having those opportunities.
My involvement starts almost simultaneously with my employment. I started working here again back in '85 for a gentleman by the name of William Soderberg. And many of us of the gray hair ilk know Bill Soderberg, or Sod as we all knew him, as a major player in the profession. And he didn't even let me even get my feet wet before he was dragging me off to some chapter meeting that I really did not want to go to. I just wanted to do my job, go home, and enjoy life. I went to the first chapter meeting and said, oh, well, okay, this is pretty interesting. In order for me to really be able to be a professional surveyor, I have to be part of this as well. I have to know the things they're talking about. I have to be involved in what they're doing. And it kind of planted the seed that just keeps growing and growing and growing. After that first meeting, before long, I found myself as a director on the local chapter. And then suddenly, it seems like overnight, it wasn't overnight, it was a number of years, but I was president of Michigan State, or the Michigan Society of Professional Surveyors, which was an extreme honor to be in that position to serve the professional surveyors for the state of Michigan. It really was special, and I enjoyed that immensely. But I kind of thought that was going to be the end of my run until about maybe 2 years after I was president, and this position for governor at NSPS became available in Michigan. And I was asked if I was interested. I said, I don't know. I have no idea what it is. So I went to one meeting and found out what was all involved, and got hooked. Got hooked on NSPS. It's just a natural extension of the state affiliate to the national. It's the same concept, same issues, basically the same people, but just different faces. It seemed like just a natural progression to carry my love of this profession and my passion for the profession and my interest in seeing the best for this profession to a different level. So that got me to be a governor in NSPS, and I don't know when that was. I think you and I came on as governors within a year of each other. So it was a while.
It was a while ago.
So I was around there long enough to really understand how that system worked, which I thought was pretty good. We did obviously change to the 100% membership, and I became a director for the state of Michigan. And then after a couple of years, I became an officer as secretary. And I had the same feeling I had in that first chapter meeting is this is stuff I need to be a part of. For me to really be a professional surveyor, I have got to be involved in MSPS, NSPS, anything that's going to affect my profession, I need to be a part of so that I understand it, so I can better serve my clients and my profession. That's sort of got me to here today. I was not an ACSM member until 2001, when as president, I was given the opportunity to go to Vegas and listen to a gentleman by the name of John Matonich give his government affairs report. And when I found out from that one brief meeting what NSPS and ACSM at that point, primarily NSPS, was doing for me, again, I had to be part of this organization. And I literally walked from that meeting over to we had a booth. This again was in Vegas. Walked over to our booth and signed up. And I think it was one of the best things I did. This is a great organization to be part of, and it just seemed to be a natural fit for me.
Yeah, that's good. Well, we've appreciated having you around. So one of the questions that we are throwing out to all of the candidates is that as an NSPS officer, what's your primary focus for the organization?
As secretary, of course, my primary duty is keeping the notes of all the meetings and providing those to the members for their information, for their affiliate reports, and for whatever. That's my primary duty. My primary focus, since I am secretary, if I were president or vice president, I'd have really more of an agenda of things that I really wanted to do, specific items. But as secretary, I mean, my duty is taking notes, but my focus is really on doing whatever I can as an officer and part of the officers group, the XCOM, to further this profession in the right way, to take it where we think we know it needs to be. This profession changes. It almost seems like daily. Whether it's technology or methodology, the difference in different groups of people coming in, different age groups coming in with different thoughts, different interests. It's just thrilling to be a part of all of this and to try to find out how do we funnel all of these things together into one path for NSPS. And it's been a lot of fun trying to do this, a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of great times, a couple rough patches here and there, trying to prove that I'm right and everybody else is wrong, which somehow never seems to work. But it's really been a great ride, and that's what my focus is, really to be part of the group that helps funnel all of the things that we have facing us for change into the right path for NSPS.
Very good. Very good. Well, that kind of led into the last question / statement of, any final thoughts. I mean, you've summarized it quite well there, but anything else you'd like to add to really for this candidacy to remain a secretary?
I do want to continue as secretary, absolutely. Not because I like taking notes. I don't like taking notes. I don't like having to do that, just for the drudgery that it gets to be. But that's my role, and I'll do it, and I'm happy to do it. I really am. But what I enjoy and why I want to continue as secretary is I value this role that I have found myself in, working with some really great people at a high level in the organization to help guide this organization. I want to be part of that team. My role is as secretary, and I'm more than happy to do it. I understand it a lot better than I did my first year as secretary. You gave me a whole bunch of information as you were secretary before me that I had to figure all this out and what do I do and what's my responsibility. And I think I'm there. I'm pretty comfortable with the role. And I enjoy being part of NSPS, and my role is secretary. And I look forward to doing that for another couple of years.
That sounds good. Well, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us, to do a little meet the candidates. For those who don't know each of them, you do need to get to know them, because the ballots will, once again, the ballots will be out by email December 1st. So make sure and look for that email if you are a eligible voting member of NSPS. Craig, thanks again for the time. I will say, I guess, go Lions.
There you go. Go Lions. Loving my Lions. This is a great year.
Yes, you are. You're definitely. Yeah, they've definitely had a little bit of a renaissance, which is kind of fun to see for a change. So
certainly is.
All right, sir. Well, we thank you very much. And remember, and this isn't Chicago, so you can't vote early, vote often, but make sure and read those emails and go out there and cast your ballots. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tim. Have a great day.
You too. Hello and welcome to this segment of Surveyor Says, the NSPS podcast. I'm your host, Tim Burch, and we have our second candidate for secretary. For those who have been paying attention, we've got an upcoming election. For those members who are eligible to vote, you will be getting a ballot in your email from our election service on Friday, December 1st. And so we will have two candidates for secretary. Today, my guest today is Nancy Almazan from Nevada, and the other candidate was Craig Amy from Michigan. And then we've got the vice president candidates as well. But we're here with Nancy today, and Nancy, welcome, and thanks for taking some time out so our listeners can get an idea of who you are and why the heck you want to volunteer that much more.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate the time and appreciate the invite. Yeah, I'm looking forward to our discussion here.
Okay, so every surveyor has a story. How did you get yourself into surveying? We're always curious to hear how it all comes about. So give us a little background on how you came into surveying and how that's led you to your current employment, current roles.
Okay. Well, my story starts when I was 17. I was a senior in high school, and I was lucky enough that my high school counselor thought I was good enough at computers to recommend me for a job working for SEA engineers, which again, to my very fortunate, I was very fortunate to go work for Rita Loomis.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did data entry, this was back in the 80s. And Rita taught me a lot. And I was very fortunate to work for her there at SEA. She then became a city surveyor of the city of Las Vegas. So I went to go work for her at the city of Las Vegas. And I worked for her for 20 years up until the time she retired. And, like I said, I was very fortunate to have her as a mentor, a very good friend of mine. We still keep in touch. But she showed me, what you put into surveying is what you're going to get out of it. What you put into your profession, to your associations and whatnot, that's what makes you a professional, more than just a job. So at the city, I worked there for 28 years, both, starting as a student intern all the way up until 2018, I was the right-of-way manager. So I did work in the survey department for about 18 years, and then over directing the right-of-way group for my last 10 years there. We did in surveying, we did everything from working out in the field, doing topos, level loops, and whatnot, to preparing the records of surveys and checking the maps of the local surveyors, and starting our first GPS station at the city, and our first working with our first 3D scanner at the city. So doing all that and working with the local surveyors, I got to know a lot of them and work with them, through the mapping process and through the zoning ordinances, through planning and whatnot. So that was a great part of my career. And then I got the opportunity in 2008 to move over to the right-of-way group, which I had worked with them, was on the development side, but not much on the acquisition side. So I learned all about right-of-way acquisitions and how much surveying is needed in the right-of-way world, how closely intertwined we are. And so I worked on capital improvement projects a lot in survey in right-of-way. Was able to work more with our city engineers group, with our city attorneys, and just working with all those different groups, I think is a benefit for anybody in surveying or whatever that other profession is, to get to collaborate with others like-minded professions. In 2018, about 5 years ago, I was given the opportunity to go work for Southwest Gas Corporation, which is a regional natural gas distribution company. I lead the right-of-way group there. I'm the supervisor of right-of-way. We have 5 divisions in California, Nevada, and Arizona. I am the only licensed land surveyor on staff. So I do work with a lot of contractors for our survey work. But we acquire land rights for our easements, for both our own projects and for private development. And again, just working with those other groups like our engineers, our legal counsel, our real estate group, when they go and buy property, I review their ALTAs and title reports and whatnot. So it's really has been a great profession for me, both on the surveying side and the right-of-way side.
Well, and just a personal note, and then I assume you had a hand in the city of Las Vegas, at least I say it's the city, up and down the strip, those right-of-way monuments have got to be one of the most iconic right-of-way monuments anywhere I mean, literally in the world. So that had to be interesting to be able to set something that elaborate at times for right-of-way.
Yeah, those were most of what you see, the Welcome to Las Vegas monuments and some of those other kind of iconic monuments. We have them both in the city and in the county, and the majority of the strip is in Clark County.
Oh, it's Clark County.
So
okay.
we work in conjunction with Clark County, with NDOT. Yeah, they're fun to kind of design those monuments, and yeah, there was quite a few various drafts, let's say, that were fun to go through.
Oh, they're fun to find. They really are fun to find. But anyway, okay, so through all of that, you've also got this whole other life that you've been with your volunteering and through the advocacy and through the profession, through the Nevada Surveying Society. Tell us about what drives you to be that involved there, and really kind of what's leading to being more involved even at the national level.
So yeah, I received my my license in Nevada in 1998, and like I said before, I worked for Rita, and she was really a driving force for me, and really I think for a lot of women in surveying. She was the first woman surveyor in Nevada. She was a NSPS president. She was our NOWS president on the NC's board. She really, I think, helped instill that service to your profession, service to your society, service to the public. Being a public employee, we're serving the public as well. So I think that's where it really started, was with Rita.
You sure had a great role model there. Holy cow.
I did. And so I have to give her credit for helping me to get started. I was very shy when I, came into working for a survey company, and, then onto the city, but she helped open me up to a lot of different people and a lot of different associations. So I became active within my own local chapter when I got licensed, and then I was the president of that chapter, and then went on to be state president of NOWS. And I was fortunate again this year in our 50th anniversary to serve as president again. And I've also been the conference chair for Nevada since 2009 up until now. And that's also been a great kind of thing for me to be involved with, because again, we get to work with, we do a lot of conferences with California, with CLSA, but more recently in the last, 5-10 years, we've been doing regional conferences. So we have Arizona and Utah, and this coming year in 24, we are including Wyoming and New Mexico are going to be part of the regional conference. So
nice.
That's been great. On regionally, I was on the WestFed board, Western Federation of Professional Surveyors. I was on that board for about 15 years and was chair of that board for from 2015 to 2019. I think part of where I started my service to the associations and to just people in general, I was in a youth group, Masonic youth group. It's called Rainbow Girls, both as a member and then as an adult advisor for several years. And one of the things that we teach young women is, be of service to others, be of service to the community, leadership skills, public speaking skills, how to run a meeting, so that was kind of instilled in me when I was a teenager, just giving that service. With NSPS, I became the director in 2019 from Nevada. also serving on the NSPS Foundation Board as a trustee. And I've been involved with the Western States Directors Council, was chair of that committee last year, and currently working on the policy committee, and now secretary of the NSPS Foundation. And I'm also active within IRWA. So I think, just like I said before, I think giving back to your profession is part of what makes you a professional. It's not just a job, it is your life.
Exactly. Well, those are a bunch of great examples of how one can give back and then some. So we thank you for everything you've done to date at all levels. I mean, it's an incredible dedication you've put in to the profession and the volunteering. So in throwing your hat into the ring here for secretary, it's a 2-year commitment. Anything that you would have in mind that, I mean, besides just pushing the organizations forward, are there any kind of little pet projects you see that you would like to see NSPS go forward under your direction?
Yeah, there's a couple of ideas that I have. I think communication is really the key to just about anything that we do. Communicating, not just with our, executive officers and the board, but the board of directors, all of our NSPS directors, not just there, but also back down to the state associations and the regional associations and, the other organizations like IRWA, our GIS partners, our engineering partners with NCs, all of those players, let's say, I think it's important to keep the lines of communication open with them. And, I think we also need to have the mindset of, not only are we just looking to get through workforce development our new PLSs licensed, but we have a whole crew basically of people that support surveying. Not everybody either wants or needs to be licensed. We do need the PLSs, yes, but we also need the CAD technicians, we need the drone operators, we need the field crews, we need the secretaries, we need the accountants, we need business-minded people, all of those professions and those jobs to help us do what we do. So I think through workforce development, that's kind of a key, promoting the CST, promoting, military people coming into the profession. They have a lot to offer. Going to high school outreach, high school fairs, college fairs, high school counselor conferences, working with the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Future Cities, Trigstar, all of those types of opportunities that we have, that we need to get out there and get the word out, and not just, so people know us more as just, the guy out in the middle of the street with camera, and which I think that has changed over the years, right? I mean,
it's getting there.
There's a lot more recognition now. But I think we need to be continuous on that. And like one thing I think that we as NSPS could do to communicate more with our members, because we have to remember that we serve our members. It's not just the board of directors, but NSPS as a whole represents all of the surveyors across the nation. Whether you're a member of your state association or not, NSPS is your national voice. And I think like maybe having town hall meetings, maybe monthly, quarterly, something like that, in between our NSPS meetings, that either one of the officers, or like a committee chair for, let's say, workforce development, because they're doing a lot right now, let them tell the surveying world, what they're doing and how they can participate. We do. I give a report to my board at our board meetings. We meet quarterly like most associations do. And we put the minutes of the NSPS meeting in our publication. And at our local chapter, I can talk a little bit about it, but if I wasn't at that workforce development meeting, because there's so many meetings going on,
yes,
right? We can't attend every one. But so I may not have all that information from the workforce development committee until the next meeting when the minutes come out from that committee. So if we were able to do that, communicate that out in a more timely manner, and what Joe Surveyor can do as a member of NSPS or as a person represented by NSPS, I think that would be a good thing to do. Is that could be a good member benefit.
Those are some great ideas, and I think the groundwork has always been there. It's just a matter of getting them implemented and following through. So, no, thank you for sharing that. That's some great stuff. Trying to be cognizant of your time. You're a busy lady, as we've just listened to. Any final thoughts on the whole election, and what really, even beyond just the election part of it, what do we got to look forward to in 2024, and what, I guess I've kind of put a period on some of the things you just explained there. What do you think the low hanging fruit we can go after real quick?
Well, first of all, I'm very honored to have been nominated, as secretary for NSPS. I do try and put my all into, if I'm going to volunteer, I'm going to go all in. But it's not just about the election. I mean, if I'm honored to be elected, that's great. If I'm not, that's great too. And I will support NSPS as best I can in whatever role I may be in. So again, I think it's just an honor to even be recognized and honored to serve in such a role. As far as low-hanging fruit, I think PR is kind of a lot of that, and communication is a lot of that low-hanging fruit. It's getting the members benefits, getting the members information, maybe even doing a highlights report, right after our meeting, that, these are the key things that happened at the fall meeting that can be sent out to state execs, to the president, to the NSPS directors. And so we all have a clear and concise message from NSPS, that it's, I create my report based upon the minutes, that are provided, and on my notes of the minutes of the meetings that I went to, but maybe a clear and concise summary that could go out to all the states, and I don't think that would be too difficult to implement. So again, just keeping lines of communication open, I think is a key.
That sounds wonderful. No, that's great stuff. Thank you. That's a good place to wrap this up. I appreciate your time, and like I said, it is an honor to be nominated for these types of opportunities, and we'll see where it all goes. So, all right. Well, as I said earlier, Friday, December 1st, those ballots are coming out. If you are a member of NSPS that has voting rights, you will see an email coming from our election provider. And please do your part. Carefully consider your votes, and but make sure and vote. We do need to have your voices heard. So, Nancy, thanks again for joining me, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks. You've been listening to Surveyor Says, the NSPS podcast, and getting to know our two candidates for NSPS Secretary, Craig Amy and Nancy Almanzon. A reminder that voting for this election will open on December 1st, and eligible members will receive an email with a link to the voting site. Subscribe to this podcast on most of your favorite streaming platforms, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. For more information about the podcast and NSPS, please visit our website, nsps.us.com. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.